Hi everyone, this is me again, Teacher Vicky, and welcome to our English class. We are now on quarter 4, week 1, and the title of our lesson is Simple Tense of Verbs. In this lesson, we will determine the simple tense of verbs. And here are the guide questions. How to identify the simple tense of verbs. How to give the correct form of the verbs in the simple past, present, and future tense. How to compose clear and coherent sentences using verbs in the simple tense. This lesson highlights the simple tense of verbs using appropriate grammatical structures to make clear and coherent sentences. You are expected to identify the simple tense of verbs, to give the correct form of the verb in the simple past, present, and future tense, and to compose clear and coherent sentences using verbs in the simple tense. Okay, so I want you to look at the picture. What can you say about the picture? I want you to think of a sentence that we can use in these pictures. Okay, so we have another one. I know that you are familiar with this picture. Maybe you can see yourself with this. How about this one? Okay, now can you make some sentences using the picture? I guess you are familiar with this, but I know you do not use this anymore. But I believe that you can make your own sentence with this one. Okay, okay, so let's try to read the sentences here. The first sentence is, he washes his hands every day. Next, she wore a face mask yesterday. He will use face shield tomorrow. Now let's identify the verb in the sentence. That's right, washes, wore, will use. Okay, so let's discuss the first sentence. He washes his hands every day. So this is in the present tense. So you only need to look at the subject. Okay, because the verb should agree with the subject. If our subject is singular, like the word he, our verb should also be singular, like washes. But if the verb is not singular, if it is plural, for example, the word is they, our verb should be plural also. It should be washed. Okay. Now let's move on to the next one. What verb is in the second sentence? Wore. That's correct. That is in the past tense because we use the word yesterday. How about the third sentence? The verb is will used. We use the word will to express future tense. And the clue word here is the word tomorrow. Okay, so later on we will discuss more about this. Now let's try to read a short story and to discuss more of the verbs or the tenses of the verb. John is an incoming grade 6 pupil. He is very excited because finally it is his last year as an elementary pupil. He prepares all things that he will need for the next school year. His mother bought him ball pens, notebooks, and papers a week ago. He will iron his clothes the day before the opening of classes. He puts his things inside his bag and places it inside his cabinet. But a month before the opening of classes, the government said that there will be no face-to-face classes anymore because of COVID-19. John becomes sad, but at the same time, he is very hopeful that he will still study because there will be online classes. He knows that he will learn a lot from school through online learning. Okay, so let's try to answer these questions. But before we do that, you can always pause the video for you to have more time to answer this. Okay, so let's answer. Who is very excited to go to school? Of course, it is John. How about number 2? What did he do to prepare himself for the opening of classes? Okay, so he prepares the things that he needs to do, like notebooks, ball pens, and other things that he needs for, for the opening of classes. How about number 3? What did the government announce before the opening of classes? Of course, there will be no face-to-face classes because of the COVID-19. Do you agree with the cancellation of the face-to-face learning? Why? Of course, even before, I think it's about a year ago or 2 years ago when COVID-19 started, so we need to cancel or the government need to cancel the face-to-face learning because of COVID-19. So we need to agree because that is for our own benefits, because if we go face to face, maybe we will risk our health because of that. Okay, because we know that we need to be vigilant about this because we do not want ourselves to be sick and to be infected with the virus. Okay, and of course, number 5, what is the reason why there is no face-to-face anymore? Okay, so at this point, maybe we already know because of the virus, which is the COVID-19. So if you were John, would you still be hopeful about the situation? Yes, of course, because we already did it for 2 years. We are preparing for the face-to-face, and today we already starting the limited face-to-face, and hopefully we already have the full implementation of the face-to-face classes next year, and we hope that COVID-19 is not here anymore, right? Okay, so if you will go back to the story, what have you noticed with the italicized words? Of course, these are the verbs. Okay, so do you know what they are called? They are actually the verbs and the tenses of the verbs. Okay, so let's discuss more of the tenses of the verbs on the next slide. Okay, so let's try to analyze the sentences from the story. His mother bought him ball pens, notebooks, and papers a week ago. The government said that there will be no face-to-face classes anymore because of COVID-19. Okay, so let's analyze the sentence. Let's start with the first sentence. What is the verb? Okay, so that is bought. How about the next one? Okay, so this is said. What have you noticed with our verb? Yes, correct. Both are in the past tense. Can you identify the clue words in the sentences? Okay, very good. In the first sentence, our clue word or phrase is a week ago. How about in the second sentence? Okay, so even though there is no clue word, we can already think that this is already in the past tense because this is what the government said about the face-to-face classes. Okay, so now let's move on to the next. Okay, so let's start with the simple past tense of the verb. Simple past tense of the verb describes a completed activity that happened in the past. So the past tense of regular verbs is formed by adding the or ed to the base form. Examples: I cleaned the window yesterday. Olivia closed the door behind her. Okay, as for the first sentence, there is a clue word. Correct? The word yesterday. So that is why we add ed to the verb, which is clean. So that is why it became clean. How about the second sentence? This is closed. Okay, so even though there is no clue word, we can already think that this is in the past tense. Okay? While irregular verbs form their past tense by changing its spelling, example, the students made an investigatory project last month. Okay, so as you can see, our verb here is made. And what is the present form of the verb? So that is make. So instead of saying makes, we use made because of the phrase last month. So it means it's already in the past. So we need to use the past tense of the verb. So the past tense of the word make is made. Okay, so let's analyze another set of sentences from the story. He puts his things inside his bag and places it inside his cabinet. John becomes sad, but at the same time, he is very hopeful. Now let's find out again what is the verb in the sentence. Okay, so that is puts and becomes. Okay, so as you can see, we just add s or without s or es here in our verb. So as you can see, this is what tense of the verb? Correct. This is in the simple present tense of the verb. So we only need to look at the subject. Again, because we need to agree with the subject. So as you can see, both of our subject is singular. That's why we put s both for put and become. So that is why it became puts and becomes. Okay, so if we change he to Anna and Karen, so it becomes plural. So what will happen to the word puts? It will become put without the s. How about for John? Instead of saying John, for example, we use the word the children. So instead of becoming becomes, it will be become because of the subject. Okay? Okay, the simple present tense of the verb. So it is used when we are talking about action happen on a regular basis, such as habits or routines. For example, I brush my teeth every morning and every night. Okay, so as you can look at the verb here, we use the word brush. Okay, so why do we use brush? I is only one. But remember, I and you is an exemption. Okay, so I and you, even though it is only one, it serves as the plural form of the verb. Okay, so it will become brush instead of brushes. We do not use or we do not say I brushes. Okay, so we use I brush my teeth every morning and every night. Okay, another one. We visit my grandparents twice a year. So we use the word visit because our verb is we. So we is plural. That's why we do not put an s to our verb. Okay, so another one. When we are discussing current facts, basic truths, or widely accepted beliefs, so we use the simple present tense of the verb. For example, the sky is blue and the grass is green. Okay, so again, we need to agree with our subject. Here, our verb is. Okay, and we need to agree with our subject, which is the sky. And also the grass, okay, because we also use the word or the verb is. Okay, another one is cats catch mice. Okay, so look at the verb catch because our subject is cats or are cats. So it is plural. Okay, so that's why our verb should be plural also without the s or the es. Okay. The next one, when do we use the simple present tense of the verb? So we use it for describing people or things. So we use the present tense to describe physical characteristics, personality traits, feelings, abilities, and likes and dislikes that are true in the present. Okay, for example, he is the nicest person I know. Many people love dogs, but many also love cats. Okay, so again, remember, in the simple present tense of the verb, we do not just look at the clue word. We just need to look at the verb. Okay, so we look at the verb and see whether it is singular or plural, and then we came up with our verb. Okay, if we need to put an s or es, or for example, here, he is the nicest person I know. So our subject here is he. He is singular, that's why we use the word is. The second sentence, many. Okay, many people. So it means plural, so our verb should also be only plural, which is love. Okay, so let's move on to the third tense of the verb. But first, let's analyze the sentences from the story. He will iron his clothes the day before the opening of classes. He will learn a lot from school through online learning. As you can see in our sentences, what have you noticed? Of course, we use the word will and then our verb. Yes, for this one, will iron and then will learn. So remember, in the future tense, we always use the word will or shall. Okay, so again, here is the simple future tense. It is used to describe actions that will happen in the future. It is formed by combining the helping verb, will, with the base form of the main verb. Example, I will clean the window tomorrow. I will submit my report next Tuesday. What have you noticed with our examples? Can you see some clue words? Of course, for the first sentence, the clue word is tomorrow. And our verb should be will clean. Okay? And the second sentence, our clue word is correct, next Tuesday. And of course, will submit is our tense or verb in the future tense. Okay, so let's try to answer this. Okay, so again, class, you can get your notebook or your paper for you to answer this. Again, you can pause the video for you to if you need more time to answer this one. Okay, let's start. Complete the sentences by writing on the blank the correct simple present form of the verb inside the parentheses. Number 1. Carl blanked every day to keep him fit and healthy. The correct answer is runs. Next, number 2. We blank at the playroom every afternoon. Okay, so remember you need to look at the verb. Okay, so the word is play. Very good. Now let's go to the next one. Okay, so for this exercise, this is for the simple past tense. Again, complete the sentences by writing on the blank the simple past form of the verb inside the parentheses. Number 3. Bill blanked Tina with her homework yesterday. So let's see what will happen to the word help. Okay, so it is helped. We add ed. Next. Last night, I blanked eating the Valenciana that my mother cooked. Okay, so the answer is finish with ed. Now, let's move on to the simple future tense. Okay, so again, we are on number 5. The house is dirty. I blank it on Monday. The answer is will clean. Okay, and number 6, remember this is the future tense of the verb. I blank face mask and face shield when I go out of the house tomorrow. Okay, so what's your answer? Correct, that is will wear. Very good. Okay, for this activity, this is your performance test actually, okay? So for my online class, this will be your performance test. Just look at the picture so that it can give you an idea on what sentences you will make or what drawing you will make, okay? So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so you're going to draw a picture of you, your father or your mother, then complete the sentences below using the appropriate tenses. So you can look or think of verbs appropriate for the given subjects. So example, my mother cooked dinner yesterday. Okay, so the next or the following sentences will be your guide in making the sentences. Okay, so just think of some verbs that is appropriate for those given subject. I know you can do it. Okay, so let's try to answer this. Let's match the tenses of the verb with their description. Okay, so it talks about actions happen on a regular basis, such as habits or routines, discussing current facts, basic truths, or widely accepted beliefs. Describing people or things. What tense is this? If your answer is simple present tense, you are correct. Very good. Now let's move on to the next. It is used to describe actions that will happen in the future. It is formed by combining the helping verb will with the base form of the main verb. Okay, so the clue word is the word will. If your answer is simple future tense, your answer is correct. And the last one, it describes a completed activity that happened in the past. The regular verb is formed by adding the or ed to the base form, while irregular verbs form by changing its spelling. Okay, so that is simple past tense. Okay, so for our next activity, so you are going to encircle the verb in each sentence, and then you're going to identify the tense of the encircled verbs, okay? So again, what is the first thing that you need to do? You need to look for the verb. Of course, because if you look at the verb, you will find out what kind of verb or tense of the verb is that. Okay? So let's start. Again, you can pause the video if you need more time to answer this. Okay, let's start with number 1. My sister swims in our mini pool every afternoon. What could be the answer? Let's look at the verb first. What is the verb? Okay, so that is for number 3, 4, and 5. You can always pause the video. Alright, now let's move on to the next one. Let's try to answer this. Okay, now let's try to answer. Thank you for watching. God bless everyone.